and welcome to Experts Live UK Community Voices. This series is all about the people behind the Microsoft community, the speakers, experts and community leaders from across the Microsoft ecosystem who willingly spend their spare time talking about technology for fun. I'm Bruce Cullen, and in each episode I sit down with speakers and community leaders. Hang on, I've already said that. What's gone wrong with my notes? Damn, this is the downside of reading things. Well, I'm going to skip ahead. The general idea is that in each episode I will learn something new in the area of the speaker's expertise, and this episode is kind of no change from that format, which is great. I know a bunch of stuff, but I spent my time as a product manager, so there's loads of things that I don't know. It'd be rude not to get some free education at the same time. So expect some real technical insights, from an introduction to an area to the tricks and tips that separate our guests from the rest, and the lessons learned the hard way. And of course, if there are any podcast tips, I'd be very willing to take them. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my co-host for today, Mr. Jeff Ross. Hello, Jeff. How are you today?
Hello, Bruce. Yes, I am good. The UK is currently experiencing a heat wave, so that should tell everyone when this episode was recorded, because it doesn't last long. But let's blame the heat on your auto cue going wonky.
Almost certainly. As long as nothing else is wonky. It is hot. There is nothing I can do to be more camera ready than this.
Yeah.
You know, I've got a glass of water here. You know, I don't have anything to mop my face with, but that is essentially what is needed here.
Well, nonetheless, very excited to be here, and yeah, awesome as always.
Perfect. Good news is it isn't just us talking. We are joined by a very special guest, Areti Iles. Areti, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Great to have you here. So you are a Customer Experience and Power Platforms MVP, and you're also Head of Professional Services for Telefónica's AI Business Solutions division. Welcome to the show. Let's get started with a brief introduction to yourself for our listeners, please.
So hello everyone listening and seeing, hopefully. The reason why I'm on the show is because I have been involved with the community for a while. I was also at Experts Live recently as a speaker, which I'm very grateful for. Great event. If you've not been, check it out for next year and go. It was lovely. It's really, really good. I got massive FOMO just being there of all the sessions I couldn't go to, because there were sessions I went to and I wanted to go to all of them. So if you've not been, go. So I'm, as Bruce was saying, I'm Head of Professional Services for the AI Business Solutions division at Telefónica Tech. Telefónica Tech, for anyone that doesn't know, is the technology division of the broader Telefónica, which is a Spanish, mostly telecoms company that we are known for. But I'm in the technology division, specifically working on Microsoft business applications and delivering that for professional services sector clients. And it could be Dynamics 365 CE projects, it could be ERP, it could be Power Platform, Agentic AI, Copilot readiness, that kind of stuff. So anything really under the AI business solutions agenda that my delivery teams would be delivering. So I oversee that from a day-to-day operations basis, and I look after the delivery teams, and I'm an escalation point for them and for our customers. And every so often my marketing team will throw with their wonderful ideas at me, and I will have a go at it. More on that later. If you ask me, I will tell you what's coming up. Might give you a spoiler. Might give you an exclusive.
Love an exclusive. Love a spoiler.
Yes. On the latest thing they brought me into. So apart from that, obviously, apart from my day job, I do a lot with Microsoft community. So I started off as an attendee at user groups and events, and I realized that because I was a consultant, I was building things at the time, and I had started doing things within the Dynamics 365 CE in particular, and the Power Platform when that came along. I decided to submit a session, and it got accepted, and then I panicked, and I was like, oh my god, I'm going to do public speaking, I'm going to talk about this thing that I've built. But I did it, and I loved being at the community events and getting to meet everyone, and everyone was very welcoming, because I didn't really know many people there at all. I was very, very new, and I just thought that this would be something that I would want to do more of. And eventually I started my own user group in my area, so I live kind of south of Reading. There wasn't a user group where I was, so I started one and kind of developed it from there. And it's still going now, many years later, which is lovely and great to see, really. And I didn't do any of this on my own, right? I think the important thing to mention is I've had support from many people in the community along the way. You can't really do anything impact from the community on your own. It's all about working together with other people. So it just built from there, and I did more and more things, and it just all escalated. And I'm glad it did, because I have lots of fun and I have lots of friends in the community, and it's a great thing to be part of.
It sounds like an excellent form of sort of escalation, and so much there to kind of jump off into. So let's start sort of with your day-to-day and your career, I guess. So Dynamics 365 sounds like it was definitely an important piece of your journey. Is that still something you spend loads of time on today, or is that less taking more of a backseat for the more AI-powered stuff?
Yeah, there is a lot of AI-powered stuff out there at the moment, but I think there's still a lot of projects taking place in the traditional sense, as has been for the last kind of few years in our industry. So there's a lot of companies still doing digital transformation, but they are using D365C or ERP to do that, with AI being just another tool they add on top. A lot of organizations, I think, are not truly ready to make the most of it for lots of different reasons. But I think there's still, I would say, a lot of work being done in the traditional D365 implementation out there, for sure. I obviously started my journey as an end user, so I was using Dynamics 365 CRM, as it was at the time, for the company I was working for. I worked with a partner to implement it, and I really loved that. And I realized that actually I should be able to do this. Because I was able to start doing not deployments, I should say, but manual solution exports and imports, as it was at the time, because there was no pipelines back then. But I realized that I could actually do the work the partners we were working with were doing. So I eventually went and became a functional consultant, worked myself up to solution architect for D365C, and then the opportunity came up because of a number of different acquisitions and the way that Microsoft partners, develop in the UK. There's a lot of acquisitions happening. There was the opportunity for me to go into a head of delivery role, which is where I am now. So I decided to leave the building of the solutions alone for a bit and try and build new skills being head of delivery. And so I don't build as much anymore in the platform. I oversee the people that build things in the platform, and I will sometimes poke my head in and see what they're doing, metaphorically.
How do you find that difference there? Because, I mean, the two worlds are quite different. Leading a team from hands-on keyboards building.
I tend to keep tabs on what they're doing and asking questions. I think it's nice to have management, people in management positions, I should say, that understand what is being built, really understand. So when you come to them with an issue and you go, this thing has happened, they can go, oh yeah, cool, I get it. So are you going to do this or are you going to do that? And I think that just cuts down the time you have to sit there and explain exactly what's happening to then get an answer from them as to what you want to do. So I find that helps. It's not that you need to have technical expertise to be in a management role, but I think it helps empathize with the delivery teams, because you know what it's like as a consultant, you know what it's like as a principal, and I know what it's like as a client as well. So having that experience, you get to make, in theory at least, better decisions and be a lot more understanding of all of the different people and their roles and the conflicting requirements everyone has for something to be done. So I think it is a different set of skills, though, because you are no longer making technical decisions or working with your team technically and developing their skills and experience on a project. You're not in the day-to-day. You're not in stand-ups anymore. You are in review calls or steering meetings or weekly report reviews. So it's really more about making sure that all of the information is being given to the right people and everyone is communicating correctly to get the project to be successful, be delivered successfully.
That makes sense. I can see there definitely being sort of overlap, sort of thinking of my own sort of journey in this sort of area, in that sort of communication and sort of understanding people and empathy is going to be something that's got to cut across the both of the two, certainly from my experience. Would you say the same?
Yeah, I would say so. I think there is that element of being the bridge between the different people, particularly when you're in an escalation point. You have to understand, particularly because I can come into fights. I won't sugarcoat it. There might be people kind of having an argument with each other and kind of going, oh no, we should do this, no, we need to do that, or a customer might be asking for something and the project manager thinks something different should be happening, or someone didn't communicate something, or someone, that kind of thing. So a lot of the time I will have situations escalated to me where there is some kind of conflict. Most of the time, if not 99% of the time, it's friendly conflict, right? There's just a disagreement on something or something that has to be clarified. So it's friendly fighting, but it's still fighting nonetheless. So there is that element of building those skills to bring people together and understand what are they trying to achieve, a lot of the time reminding them that they're trying to achieve the same thing. And whatever they're disagreeing on, in a way, it's always good when there's people disagreeing, because it means there is a lot of caring.
Yeah.
And
passion is important.
Passion, exactly, involved in it.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a bad thing. So,
definitely. If it's born from people trying to do the best job or what they think is the right thing for the customer, if there's disagreement on that, then that's a great conversation to have, isn't it? And resolve.
Yeah, definitely. Because we all know customers. Sorry, I was just going to say, we all know sometimes customers have an idea, and then we know why that idea is a bad idea. So it's about us really doing that hard consulting bit, going, do you understand that what you're asking us to do is this? And down the line, you're going to have this big problem that we can see that you can't see. So, and that's where we add value at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the value of experience ultimately. I mean, you've summarised a whole career quite quickly there. Are there any things you say were sort of pivotal key moments? Any interesting stories from that journey? Any spicy punch-ups?
I've generally tried to keep myself away from any kind of spicy punch-up. I know that they've happened, but I've not been there to experience them myself. I don't really have that many horrible stories on projects, but I do have a lot of... I try to remember, I guess, the good rather than the bad. There's always been, everyone, you've been around for a while delivering projects in whatever role, you will have seen certain things happen again and again. And I think you learn how to manage that. But I wouldn't say, I tried to not remember the bad stuff. I remember the good stuff. Like when I had to dress up as a fairy at Go Live, so that when people were starting to use a new system, they could see where the fairies were on the floor, and they could raise their hand, and a fairy would come over and would help them use the system. It was an adoption thing that the customer wanted to do. And of course, any crazy idea, I will probably almost never say no. So we all dressed up as fairies, God help us. So it was one of those weird and wonderful things. So I have a lot of lovely memories like that from all of the different projects. I try not to remember the bad stuff, but the bad stuff most of the time I think has to do with either being ignored when you're trying to do something and someone kind of overruling you, or working with people that won't respect you and listen to you and are not really interested in working with you. They just want you to do something. I think that can be very hard. And, politics always comes into it one way or another.
Yes, politics. It would be such a simpler world without them.
I was going to ask, Areti, at what point in your career did you first get involved in Microsoft community and go along to events?
So it was after the pandemic had finished. I had just had my daughter mid-pandemic. That was an experience and a half. So I was coming out of maternity leave, and I wanted to, and I had just moved to Reading. I was in London previously, so I moved to Reading. And obviously in London there's a lot of events going on. There's a big kind of community there for sure, but I wanted to see what was available locally to me. And that was, I think, the first time when I realized that actually no, there wasn't anything, and I created the Reading user group together with Fraser Deer and Tim Lung at the time. So I think it was one of the first times that I got into kind of organizing things and kind of wanting to make the community happen. But I had been to events, but I think that the first event, the kind of big conference that I went to was the South Coast Summit in 2021. I think that was the first time that I experienced a conference in itself. And that's kind of where I got the bug, I think, I would say.
Yeah, it is good fun, definitely. How did you find starting a meetup in Reading? Spoken as someone who has experience of starting meetups in Reading.
Yeah, so I had, as I said, a lot of help. So I reached out to Andrew Beebe, who was running, and is running, the UK Dynamics 365 and Power Platform user groups. And I asked whether there was a user group in Reading, because I had been to the user groups before, and I was a bit surprised because Microsoft has an office in Reading at Thames Valley Park or TVP, and I thought surely there must be one, I must be missing something. So I thought, who do I know that will be able to tell me where the user group in Reading is? So I reached out to him and I said, can you let me know if I'm missing something? If there isn't one, would I be able to create one with the group support? Because I wouldn't be able to do it on my own. I wouldn't even know where to start. So I reached out at the time, and we had a catch-up about it, and he explained, no, there wasn't one, but if I wanted to start one, this is how they could help. And the groups is a great thing as well, because they get sponsorship for all the groups annually, and they provide a lot of support. So I then said, okay, well, I need to find other people that would be willing to do this. And there was another conference coming up at the time. I can't remember if it was, I think it was by then, it might have been Scottish Summit, I can't remember. But there was the word put out to say, is anyone in the Reading area that would be willing to support with a user group? And of course, the community being the community, there were lots of people who were willing to help. So that's how I found Fraser and Tim. So we kind of formed our group to run the user group, and we had a few MVPs that were local to the area at the time, Chris Huntingford and Carl Cookson, who became our first ever Reading UG speakers. And we we went from there, basically. So it was a lot of hard work, and I would like to think I paid back that debt of gratitude, because I then got involved with the user groups and running them, and I created a guide on how to start a user group and all the things you need to think about and things like that. So I gave back all of the knowledge in writing, so that if anybody ever wanted to start a user group, they would have the Bible, as I call it, and that tells you everything you need to think about. And there's quite a lot. You don't realize attending events just how much there is to think about and do. So I decided after a couple of years to write it all down, because we were getting a lot more user groups that wanted to start up in the UK, and we're having to go through this education process every time. And I thought, you know what, let's just write it down, because then everyone can benefit from it. And I put it in a blog post as well, so that not just the UK user groups benefit from it, but anyone can benefit from it. So, if you're thinking of starting a user group, exactly.
I love it.
Yeah, where do you go to find this? It sounds like an excellent resource.
Yes, it is. I mean, it's long. It's a rather long blog post, because I put everything in it, but you can find it in two places. If you go to my website, aretiiles.com, there is a blog post there on, I think it's called Want to Start a User Group, something like that. Click on that. You can read all about it, but the MVP blog as well did a 2-part series on it as well. So if you look at the MVP blog, there will be the same information really there, but just a bit more information on it. So it's in both places. But yeah, if you Google for it, or Bing for it, Bing for it. You will use the search box of your choice and find it. I'm sure you will find it.
Amazing, cool.
Yes.
Sounds good to me. So let's move on to MVP now. It's a nice little segue there. How did becoming an MVP come to be? Was that something you sort of were seeking out, or is it something that you sort of picked up along the way?
I didn't really ever expect to be one. I didn't think I did enough to be one. And then one of the MVPs in the community got in touch with me and said, "Oh, I've nominated you, by the way." And I went, "What? What? So it was done to me, which I'm very grateful for. And they said, just fill in the information. You do a lot more than some MVPs do. Just go for it. Unfortunately for me, I got rejected the first time I applied to be an MVP. I was devastated. Although I didn't expect to become one, I was still devastated. I was like, why? I do so much. And then I was a little bit I just wasn't sure if I wanted to go through it again, because it does take a lot of time to put all of the information in, answer all the questions and things like that. And I thought, and I didn't really know, because you don't get feedback either. I didn't really know what I needed to change or what I needed to do. And it was very difficult to kind of hit a target that won't be specified for you. And I thought, do I even want to try again? But thankfully, I am a betting woman. So because a lot of MVPs were saying, no, you should do it again, you should go for it, you really should do it, you deserve to be one. I was like, if I try again, will you leave me alone? And they said yes. So I did it one last time, and then I got accepted. So I was like, oh,
that's good. I'm surprised there's no feedback. That's a frustrating thing. Did you get any sort of views or feedback from fellow MVPs on kind of like what their view was on why? Because that would be a very demoralizing experience. I haven't even gone through the process of trying myself.
Yeah, I think it's very difficult. It's a bit of a black box to know exactly what the Microsoft effectively are looking for in terms of impact and activities and reach, and when do they decide you've done enough to be included into the program or not. I honestly think that if you're doing things to try to be an MVP, you're not going to be an MVP for long, because you might get awarded, but the main thing to remember is that you should do it because you love it, because that way you will keep doing it and you will keep loving it, because it's not like the MVP program is going to be life-changing for you and something fundamental will shift in your life. It's a great recognition, absolutely, and it's a great thing to obviously have as an accomplishment. It recognizes all of the things you do for the community technically, but that's not why you should be doing it, because every year you have to reapply, every year you have to show that you have done enough to be still part of the program, and some people I know will just do it to just get it and then they're done. Other people do it to get the 5-year kind of blue disc. I don't know what that's about, but I find it a thing. And then there's other people that will just be, there's MVPs that have been MVPs for like 20 plus years, and I'm like, how have you? Wow, so that's a commitment. So I think your heart needs to be in the right place. So I think there is that element of, are you talking about the right thing? Are you actually specializing in something? Because I know a lot of people that do a lot, but across so many different technologies that Microsoft can't really identify an area that they are really truly specialized and passionate about. So I know that there's situations as well where people will talk about too many things. So you need to find the thing that you love and do things for that category, because fundamentally they need to identify for you the categories where you're doing those activities and putting that impact in. So pick the thing you love and do the things you love, and the MVP will one day happen. And don't get discouraged if you hear no. It's not no forever, it's just no right now. So keep going for it. My experience shows you that you shouldn't give up.
That's great advice.
And I can't say that I didn't give up, because I totally gave up. I only purely did it for people to leave me alone. No, forever. But I was quite. I was like, no, don't want to get rejected again. I'm done. But it's you need to keep going, because it's so many things can change year on year, particularly right now with the way the technology is, that you really could. And the MVPs change categories. I'm a customer experience and Power Apps MVP right now. But you could change categories year on year. You could decide to focus on a different technology. You could decide to look at something else. And you get to do that, which I think is great. And you can just pivot and do lots of different things. There's so many different ways to be an MVP as well, is the last thing I want to say. You don't have to be a YouTube broadcasting every day, having your own website and accounts everywhere and stuff. There's many MVPs that are very introverted. They just do their own thing. They do their research. They put their tools out, their blogs, whatever. There are so many different ways to contribute, and Microsoft recognizes all of the different ways you could be contributing. So do the things you love.
That's great advice. And also great to know you don't have to be on stage or whatever to be eligible effectively.
Correct,
Go on, Jeff.
yeah.
I was going to say, and above all, keep doing the community stuff, right? Just keep being involved in the community, MVP or not MVP or whatever. Working for Microsoft, not working for Microsoft, wherever it is, that's what the community needs. Everybody to keep being involved and keep showing up and keep sharing themselves, sharing their knowledge. So yeah. And
it's important for the people that attend events as well to give the organizing team extra love and let them know what the event means, particularly if it has led to you benefiting from something or learning something that has changed your career, or you've met someone that has made a difference, because it can be a thankless task sometimes running events in the community, because people come, they'll have a good time, and then you don't hear really about, did they enjoy it, did they have fun, did it lead to something? So it's always nice to thank the organizers, because we do put an awful lot of work behind the scenes to making these things happen. And we're all volunteers. We're all just doing because we for the fun of it, as Bruce said at the beginning. We sound mental. When you said that at the beginning, I was like, we are all nuts. Why are we doing this?
But we're all here doing it for the same reason, and it's because it's fun.
We enjoy it, and that's really all we do it for. So it's hug your organizers. Yeah, tell them how great they are.
Aside from just segue, Bruce, into events that have recently been organised.
Exactly. I'll just before I go there, I know exactly where you're going, Jeff. We're in that stage where we've just run Experts Live UK 2026. I'm literally wearing the t-shirt. Don't worry, it has been off me since the conference. And so feedback is out effectively. So right now we are actively looking for feedback from you if you attended. And we're in the process of preparing for 2027 already. More about that kind of later, including dates. But this is a great point to ask you, Areti. How was it for you? Because you spoke, of course.
Yes. So I really enjoyed the event. It was the first time I had been, so I had always wanted to come to Express Live, because every year I saw the photos and the posts on social media on my feed. It would flood the day of the event and after the event. And I was like, man, I have to go to this thing. So I finally managed to get organized enough to actually put in a session with Dan Barbany and Tweedy about consulting culture. And we were very, very happy to get in, because I was like, I get to go. I can go now. I can actually go and experience it. I mean, I probably would have come anyway and geeked out, but I had an official reason to be there, which is always nice. And I was really impressed by the venue. Is a lovely venue, obviously, but there were also so many sponsors there. There was a humongous amount of really cool swag as well. There was Back to the Future Lego cars. There were MacBooks. There were so many things that were being given away. There was a very cool reaction game as well by one of the sponsors. I may have got a little bit too competitive. So yeah, it was a really great experience, easily done. Because us community people, we're not competitive at all.
No, of course.
No, we not really. We but we love some healthy competition. So it was really a great experience for me as an attendee as well as a speaker. I absolutely loved the wooden frame with a photo for the speakers that you gave out. The speed with which you took photos and framed them as well, because we were one of the last sessions in the day. That takes a lot of planning and organization behind the scenes, and I, as an organizer, really valued that and appreciate the fact that you put the thought into getting something to the speakers that was like very much a real kind of the day memento, and I think that was fantastic. And just generally, the event was very, very well run, and you could tell that it was a very well run, well thought out event. And there were cookies. I mean, and the coffee cart as well. It was amazing. Yeah, the cart was like. Yeah.
It's amazing how people mention the cookies.
Cookies, sugar, man. It's just,
they were brilliant cookies. Yeah.
They were very good cookies. I'm a baker, and I can tell you those cookies were good cookies.
Yeah, I don't say you should come next year just for the cookies, but like almost.
Come for the cookies, stay for the tech.
Yes, that's going to be the tagline for next year. Take a note, Jeff. Let's do that next year.
Okay. No, it's hilarious how many people actually love the cookie. That's literally been mentioned so many times in feedback. It's brilliant.
I'm really glad you enjoyed it. We certainly did. We're obviously biased, and we're heavily into planning 2027 already, even though we're like, 11 months away, something like that. So there we are. I'm going to segue away from community for a moment, but I'll come back to Experts Night 2027 at the end, to the part of the show where it's time for me to learn something. And Power Platform I know a bit about, not lots, but Dynamics is a complete and total dark art. I know literally nothing. So where should I start with Dynamics?
Oh, it depends on what you want to do with it. So if you want to look at leads and sales and operations, you will probably look at Dynamics 365 sales. And start with that and kind of have a little look around and see what you can do, what you can create. And there's great demos out there as well. If you want to do ERP, it's a little bit different, because that is a whole different situation. And definitely when I went from CE to ERP projects, the project delivery is very different as well in terms of between CE and ERP projects. So they are, if you look at the CE box, there's so many different first-party apps in CE and in D365 and in ERP as well. It's even more really in ERP. So it really depends on which part of it you want to look at. But what I would say is, if you're looking to start in D365, most people tend to start with D365 sales traditionally, because they start off implementing a lead generation and opportunity management system, and then they kind of go from there and they start building, they look at customer journeys and they start looking at their marketing and integrate it with that, and then they go, but we have a finance system, should we then look at ERP? And they start kind of building it on top of each other, because that's where the power really and the economies of scale and the capabilities is being a Microsoft stack organization. So I think a lot of organizations tend to start small, which I really encourage as well. Starting with an MVP, starting with a team that are quite open to change, and then giving them Dynamics 365 sales as an example, and then seeing what difference that has made to them. Because a lot of the time it's, we all know, I think, that implementing technology has nothing to do with technology and more with the people, because you can create the most amazing system in the world, but if no one uses it, and if Bob continues to use his Excel spreadsheet, guess what?
Yes.
All that money has been spent for nothing.
Exactly. And you could shout at Bob, but the reality is, it's always the people. That's how we started before we actually got into actually recording. It's always the people. So Dynamics then, so is it a single system with modules and they're sort of licensed individually, or how does that kind of work? Or is it different sort of implementations or bits of SaaS effectively that talk to each other?
Yeah, it is effectively bits of SaaS that work, that talk to each other. And depending on kind of where you look, it has changed a bit over time. So if I look at where we are now, you've got D365 as an umbrella, but it really is split into two boxes, CE and ERP. And if you look at the CE box, you've got sales, you've got customer journeys, you've got previously known as marketing, still sometimes known as marketing. Those are the two kind of main ones that when people are using CE, they're using either sales and customer journeys, or one or the other, because they don't need to be used together at all. Some organizations, in fact, have different sales systems to D365 sales, but they use customer journeys, and some organizations have D365 sales, but they use different things for their marketing solutions. And it all can integrate very, very well. There are kind of things that are D365 adjacent, so the other tools in the Power Platform, since the Power Platform came into play. So we're talking about Power Automate. It's been used very heavily in D365 for automation. Generally, obviously, it runs on Power Platform. D365 runs on Power Platform. Even on the ERP side, Power Platform is very fast affecting ERP now as well. And if you're an ERP consultant listening to this, you need to clue up on Power Platform, because it's going to be affecting you too. Dual right, it's a bit of a hate relationship, a love-hate relationship for people. I don't know if we want to poke that particular topic, because it can get emotive.
So tempting.
It's so tempting, but maybe let's not, in the interest of time. But they do fundamentally. They are different boxes that communicate with each other, sitting on top of the Power Platform fundamentally.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Business Central fit into that structure?
It's ERP adjacent.
Okay.
So BC, as is affectionately known, is really the ERP solution. If you are not looking for an ERP solution, you are a small to medium enterprise, and going for a full-blown enterprise resource management or ERP system is going to be overkill for you. And obviously there is a massive difference in license costs as well. So, and Bruce, sorry, I didn't answer that part of your question. So all of these first-party apps are individually licensed, so you can use the ones you need. But depending on obviously your actual solution, then you may have an EA agreement that sits on top of it with Microsoft, or enterprise agreement. So your licensing customer by customer may differ. But fundamentally you can license them individually as well. So there is a big price difference between ERP and BC. So a lot of small to medium enterprises look at Business Central, and it's definitely something that you need to do as a customer as well. You need to look at whether Business Central or ERP or D365 Finance and Operations, I should say, is right for you. Because when we talk about ERP, it's a bit broad. When you start to look at that particular box as well, then you've got a lot of different first-party apps in D365, as in Finance, Operations, supply chain, field services in there as well now, technically, although that's another debate we won't go into as to where field service sits. But then there's modules within those apps that you can use. So you could implement Dynamics 365 Finance in an organization with 5 modules or 20, and it will be a completely different solution. So it all really can vary and can be customized quite a lot. And that's the benefit of ERP, is that you can pick and choose which modules you want to use in your organization that you need. But it means that every implementation can be completely different.
So that all makes sense. Prepare yourself for a stupid question. So ERP to me says manufacturing, and that comes from a teeny piece of knowledge I picked up at college. So we're going back quite a few years. The grey hairs tell you how long ago. Is that fair? Is that true?
It can be, yes. So you can have an ERP system for a manufacturer, which is something we do a lot, Telefónica Tech. A lot of our ERP customers are in retail or manufacturing. It tends to be the case that they are the kind of organizations that need heavy ERP systems, because if you're a manufacturer, you've got things coming into a factory, things coming out of a factory. You've got components that you need to worry about. You've got invoices, suppliers coming in and out. So you need a financial system that can manage inventory, but also your financials and your reporting and all of that stuff. So it can be that it is manufacturers that have ERP, but not only. It's any organization of a certain size where I don't really want to call Business Central basic, because it's not, but where you need more than a core financial system. So manufacturers are often, because of the complexity of their operations, need something more than a core financial system like Business Central, which is why ERP can be very much linked to it. But it's not necessarily to do with manufacturing, although there is a supply chain module that is specifically for supply chain organizations in D365 as well. So again, it depends on whether the association is there. I think it's fair to say that a lot of ERP implementations have been from manufacturers, and a lot of case studies are from manufacturers, because it's great to talk about the complexity, but it is available to any organization really that needs a full-blown resource management system.
That makes sense.
With a goods business, so retail, construction, as opposed to services, because then you're actually only tracking what all the things coming in, how many you've got, where they all are, anything going out as a physical good. He's tracking tighter than services.
So do you find, how do you find the appetite for AI then, essentially, within these sorts of businesses? This is going to link nicely to the next question I'm dying to ask, which is about your spoiler, but let's start with that question.
So for me, we have a problem with AI. Many people talk about AI and they mean completely different things. So I could talk about AI and you could talk about AI, and I'm thinking about LLMs and you're thinking about agents, right? Or I could be thinking about quantum AI. I could be going off on 10 years plus from now. So I think there is a definition problem. A lot of the time, depending on who's talking about AI, a lot of the time really what most people are talking about is some form of automated process that has or has not got true agency in it. So for me at the moment, a lot of people are talking about agentic AI and basically having agents making decisions autonomously. I am yet to see a really true case of agents autonomously making decisions without a human in the loop and being trusted to do so, because we're not there yet, right? So I would say that most companies at the moment are very cautious about AI, both from a cost perspective and the benefit, the return on investment. It's not clear. They can't quantify it. People can't very easily explain why using any AI tool, even if it's just Copilot, what difference that's making. We're finding it difficult to articulate the benefits, and that makes it difficult for anyone to articulate to the CFO why more money should be spent on this. So we have that problem, which is slowing down adoption. Then there's people that are scared of the risk that it imposes to their organization because it's unpredictable. It can't not easily be controlled, and not many organizations place a lot of effort on the governance and the real the things that need to be put in place in terms of governance and guidelines as well in their organization, in order to control how it is used, where it is used. The great thing about it is whether you're using AI or not, you're using it, because people are using AI in their jobs whether you want them to or not. And I think that's the thing that organizations need to understand is unless you're completely locking down your networks and you're not allowing any AI, anything to be accessed, someone is using AI, sticking some of your organizational data in there and trying to do something with it, which is great. We shouldn't be stopping that because people want to get used to using AI and they need to understand how to use AI. And I think organizations need to go on that AI literacy journey with their workforce right now so that everyone gets comfortable with how they should and shouldn't use AI. So there needs to be guidance in there as well. And they should use AI where it can add value. If your data is not in the right state and your processes are not well defined, AI will only exaggerate the things that are not working. It will not really give you good answers. You will not get the benefit from it because it will base its suggestions or actions on your data. And if you know you've got issues with your data, fix your data first. There is no point investing in AI because you'll only get more bad answers. So fix your data before you go ahead.
Yes, you're absolutely not the first person we've had on who said that. But the thing that's interesting that you have said that's slightly different is you've talked about governance, you've talked about human in the loop. Talk to me more about what that means in practice, at a sort of enterprise level. There's obviously basic controls like RBAC and whatnot, but what, like practically speaking, are we talking about here?
So we're talking about the fact that it's not enough, and particularly we're going to go into legislation now, my favorite topic. So we're talking about the fact that you shouldn't have a human on the loop. It should be human in the loop. And the reason why I talk about this is because there is a bit of a misconception that if we bring agentic AI solutions into an organization, there just needs to be a human that says, the AI wants to do this, do you approve it or do you deny it? And the human just goes, approve it or deny it. That's not a human in the loop, that's a human on the loop. And the difference is that you cannot hold an agent or an AI system responsible for a decision or an outcome. You can only hold a human responsible for a decision or an outcome, legally speaking. So any organization that introduces an AI tool, they need to be very clear who is accountable for any decisions made and how that AI tool works, how does it make decisions or recommendations, and the fact that that human needs to understand all of that so that they can assess the decisions being made or recommended, so they can understand why the AI tool has made those decisions. And that's something any responsible AI tool should be able to do as well. It should be able to explain the logic with which it reached that conclusion.
Yes,
so if you're a bank, for example, and you're using an AI tool to decide someone's credit worthiness, whether they're allowed to get a loan or not, you need to be very clear as to what criteria is being used to make that decision. And you need to be able to, if the regulators come and knock on your door, you need to be able to prove that you are being compliant, both in terms of your sector regulations, the EU AI Act, if that applies to you. You need to be able to prove all of that. And that is where all of that governance and putting those guardrails in there from the beginning, that kind of admin-heavy piece of work sometimes doesn't get done. And people start using AI tools for things. And I think we're going to very soon see stories online of regulators starting to knock on doors, asking companies to explain themselves, and them hurrying to fix things in the background. And we might see very big fines. I don't know. We'll see.
It depends on what things the human that's supposed to be in control does with AI. But that's a really interesting point. There's so much depth to that. We're not completely out of time, but out of enough time that I can't go into more depth there today. What I am thinking is we should go deeper on another episode on just that. But to move us on for today, there's two things I really want to touch on before we sort of run out of time. You've been involved in some great initiatives over your time. We've talked a bit about some of the community side of things, but Women in Power platform and your mentoring experience is one thing that I really sort of wanted to sort of touch on over the course of this episode. Obviously, it's a great initiative to be kind of involved in. Do you find any kind of commonality that you see people facing when they're trying to advance their career, women obviously in particular in tech?
Yeah, so I've been a mentor for a few years now through the Women in Power platform group. We do a cohort basically every 3 months, so you get 4 people a year. We've switched to groups of people because we're getting so many people wanting to do mentorship, which is great. I think the one thing that we are all aware of is our industry is male dominated. Yeah. And we all want to change that because we know that a diverse industry will allow us to have more interesting conversations. It will lead to more interesting opinions. Everyone is represented. We have better collective ideas as a result because we're all representing society at the end of the day. We want our industry to be representative of everyone in society. So we're driving towards that. And it's not just women that want that. Men in our community want that as well. You know, it benefits all of us. And the reason why I got involved is because I have benefited as I was growing in my career from very good mentors that kind of helped me believe in myself. I didn't always have the confidence I have now. And having a mentor can really help you see your blind spots as well, and where you may suffer from a bit of imposter syndrome and thinking that you're not as good as you are. You may be putting yourself down and thinking that you don't have what it takes to do a job or go for a job. And I think women are a little bit more risk averse. And I think that's where mentorship matters for women, is because we tend to need a little bit more encouragement from someone to say to us, no, it's okay, you can take this risk and you won't die. Fundamentally, because it can be quite scary. And I think men are sometimes a little bit less risk averse, and they will go for something and see what happens, whereas women might be like, I'm not really sure if this is going to work out, and so I won't try. And for me as a mentor, a lot of it has to do with believe in yourself, go out there, give it a go. You won't die, try it, because it could just, if you do this enough, you will become a different person very, very quickly by trying, having a go at things and seeing them work out. And I think that's what really mentorship is all about, really, in our network. It's all about identifying the people that are doing great things, but they just don't believe in themselves enough to go for it, and seeing what they're doing, recognizing what they're doing, and saying, you should go for it. And I think in the community, there's so many people that do that as well. They look out for people that are doing a lot of things that could potentially become MVPs, as an example, or they could potentially run a user group. And I do this a lot with my attendees at my user group. They will know this. Whenever anyone presents and someone in the audience has a lot of questions, or they contribute something and they say, oh, but it could do this as well. I go, would you like to be a speaker? It sounds like you would be a great speaker. So come and speak. Yeah. And it's really about putting that idea in their heads of, oh, I could be a speaker. It's like, yeah, you could be a speaker. And I think a lot of the time people just don't see themselves becoming the next thing they could become. And it's all about kind of saying to them, yeah, but you just spend a lot of time debating these things. So like, go for it. We're not all knowing, all-seeing creatures. We are all learning. Even the people you look up to, they've got flaws, they've got limitations. There's things they know nothing about. No one is perfect, so just join. And I personally always think that everyone in the community has something to contribute and share, and so they should. So yeah, I'm a big advocate of that.
Definitely. I love that. I really think that's so important. I do also agree. I've experienced your point about women being kind of less kind of sure themselves or more reserved. That's something that I've experienced when we're doing call for speakers for events. I think it's not that there are less women speakers or wannabe speakers who want to present out there, it's just they don't necessarily jump at the opportunity and submit. They need to feel like they're sort of being invited and asked a little bit differently to men. So that's something that we've been trying to do. We definitely want to keep working on that and strive for more of that, because we want to hear from everybody in the community. And like you say, we also really believe that everyone is an expert. You'll see Bruce's t-shirt says expert. That's what everybody at Experts Live UK was given and was wearing, because everyone there, whether you're a speaker, attendee, sponsor or organizer, you're an expert at something, at your own thing. And that's a big part of what we're doing. So I love that you said that.
Agreed. And on a similar note, if you are a woman and you're thinking about getting started in speaking, give me a call, give Jeff a call.
Give me a call. Give anyone a call. All of us, spam us.
Give us all a call. We're going at the moment we have a completely empty 2027 schedule, so just saying, it could be a great place to cut your teeth and to figure out things there. And sort of on a similar note, what's the one thing you tell your younger self with all the things you've learnt and potentially mentored others in now?
Oh, that's a very good question. I honestly think that I would say, don't worry so much about things not working out. Just have a go and have some fun. And also, I think particularly when I was younger, I felt like if I had a go at something and I wasn't successful at it, that I hadn't succeeded. But actually, you succeed just by trying, really, because so many people are not willing to even try. And I think there is that element of having a go and considering that the success regardless of what happens. And I think that was a mentality shift for me. So I think if I had the chance to speak to my younger self, I would have said, stop being so hard on yourself. Just having a go at things is success enough. And if you get then something successful out of it, fantastic, wonderful. But the important thing is to try things and fail. And I think particularly now, it's very important for us to remember, because technology is changing, we keep having to learn new things. Our careers have seen us go through so many different technologies. So I've been doing this for 15 years, and there's the change that is happening year on year is so much, and we're always learning things. We are experts with a bit of an asterisk, because it's like experts until next week, experts until the next release, experts until the next model. So it's one of those things that we have to keep constantly learning, and part of learning is failing, and we learn more that way. We never learn much from succeeding. We learn a lot more by failing. So that's what I would have said to my younger self. Try and fail and consider that success.
That is a great answer. And that brings us to the end of this episode of Experts Live UK Community Voices. Before we wrap up, we've talked a bit about Experts Live UK 2026. We're already starting planning for 2027. It is the 18th to the 20th of May. Hang on, that's 3 days, isn't it? Ooh. So we're planning, as with this year, a pre-day and then a 2-day conference. Tickets are on sale, and we have a super early bird special at the moment. We have 1-day tickets at 80. Just super early, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So one-day tickets are at £80 and the full event is at £150. So it's a bargain, it's a steal at that price. And as you've hopefully heard today, we'd all encourage that you do come, and we'd also encourage that you do speak when we open the call for speakers. You'll obviously hear it here first. So we're going up to the north, aren't we, Jeff? Later in the week to start planning. Later in the week? No, in a few weeks' time, aren't we?
Yeah.
So what do we know so far about 2027, Jeff? Is there anything that is different or similar that we'd like to share at this stage?
Let's say all the good stuff that was good will be back, and all of the bad stuff will be fixed.
Oh, no, there was no bad stuff, of course. But yeah, agreed. We're going to be at Code Node again, so same venue essentially. So that hopefully means potentially same cookies, which is always a good thing. Is one thing that's definitely sort of worth sharing.
Definitely we're getting those cookies back.
Yes, and in terms of all the good stuff being the same, Areti, is there anything in particular, aside from obviously the cookies, that we should keep the same, do you think?
In particular, if one thing was to remain the same, I would pick, weirdly, the banner that you had of Experts Live where all of the people were taking the photos of themselves. Yes. I would keep that and maybe make it a little bit wider and bigger, and so that like lots of groups can come together, and like maybe like a photo booth kind of thing where people can remember the moment, because I feel like that banner got a lot of love from everybody. Everybody wanted to take a photo of themselves to remember the moment. So I would say give people an opportunity to get a photo memento somehow.
Okay,
that's a great call. That is a great call. Well, thank you very much for joining us, Areti, and for sharing your experience. And most importantly, for teaching me something new without making me feel like I should have known it already. We have no guests lined up for next. There's a large list of guests I can go and pull from, but if there's somebody in particular you'd like for us to go and speak to, please do push them in my direction or give me a ping and get me to go in their direction. There's plenty of topics we could cover as well. I'm quite interested in going into more depth into AI governance, as you have probably heard today. But if you've liked this episode, all of our previous episodes and of course future episodes are going to be on @Experts Live UK on LinkedIn, and of course the Experts Live UK Community Voices on Spotify. So all that's left to do is to say, if you enjoyed this conversation, please like, share, subscribe, follow all those good things at Community Voices for more content. And thank you, Jeff, thank you, Areti, and thank you for watching. Until next time, goodbye.